Welcome to this morning, and joining us is San Francisco Mayor Mark Farrell. You didn't ask for the job, but you got it. So my question is, what have you learned so far being mayor of San Francisco? What did you learn about the City Hall?
Well, look, as someone that's born and raised in San Francisco, obviously it's an honor to do what I'm doing, but it's an incredibly complex job. There are 1,000 things coming at you every single day. But what I am thankful for is the issues that I talked about from day one, what I wanted to work on as mayor, we're actually following through on. Whether you think about the homeless or street cleaning or public safety, we're working on all those issues and pushing forward very aggressively.
I'm not sure people thought you were going to be doing this. The idea was you were going to be a caretaker, so you were supposed to lay back and just sort of be quiet. Instead, you're proposing a number of things that actually go against some of the people that put you in.
Look, again, I came into office, no strings attached as mayor. And I said from that first week that I rejected this notion of being a caretaker mayor. The residents of San Francisco don't deserve that. And I have a unique ability. I understand the unique situation in terms of not running for office, but being in this office for a half a year, including the time where we put together our city's budget. So it's a unique opportunity to do what I think is right for the residents of our city.
Let's get down to the brass tacks of what you're going to do. All right, we've got some issues that are facing the city right away. You've already taken on the tents. What have you got proposed, let's say, for, oh, I don't know, the street, traffic, people getting around? It's a nightmare. What are you going to do?
It's a nightmare. We are actually working on a traffic congestion plan as well. So we're going to be coming forward with that in the next few weeks. Something I actually asked for. I've been working on since my first week.
All right, give me something from the plan. What's it going to be that we haven't seen before? Look,
we need to have much more aggressive enforcement as you think about our corridors into downtown in the mornings. I can't tell you the amount of double parking, the amount of recology trucks. We need to have much more enforcement. We need to have people be able to get in and out of our city core much easier than we do today. Combined with all the construction that's going on, traffic's become a nightmare in San Francisco. Look, we have more people in our city than ever before, more people working in our city than ever before. It doesn't have to be exactly the nightmare that it is today, so we're actually going to do something about it.
Okay, next up, let's take a look at that. Construction. Is there any way you can manage that? The place is exploding around people. I mean, so people must be screaming to you about that.
Look, absolutely. We don't want to slow down the pace of construction because one of the things we need to do in San Francisco in particular is build more housing. We need to do it more aggressively, something that I'm following on Mayor Lee's legacy to make sure we do that. But the two other things in addition to homelessness, street cleaning, which we've done a lot on, especially this week, we've started to move forward with, but also public safety. We've had a car break-in epidemic in San Francisco for years here. Last year, over 30,000 car break-ins. Something has to be done about it differently. We've been working from literally week one on the job with Chief Scott, talking about what type of staffing do you need, because I'm the first to say we have great cops, we need more of them.
Yeah, but even if you catch them and they go through the court system, they get a slap on the wrist. I mean, let's be honest. Breaking into cars is not a violent crime. Even if they do put you in jail, it's only for a short time. They don't want to fill the jails with people like that. Well, you're up against a whole system that's basically said, we don't want to be dealing with this.
Well, two things we can do about it. First of all, more police officers on the street, and Chief Scott has already doubled the foot patrols with the existing staffing. When we add more police officers, we're going to be able to do more of that. It's a deterrent effect. First quarter of 2018, property crime and car break-ins were down 17%. It's a good start. Obviously, we can't rest on our laurels, and we will not. But in addition to that, what you're starting to see now that we have officers in a dedicated unit to car break-ins and property crimes, we actually have the ability to prosecute, build cases around people that are really serial car break-in offenders. This is not the one-off situation. We have literally gangs coming into this city, people who do this professionally, day in and day out. Now we're going to be able to catch them. We're going to have consequences for them and make a difference on our streets.
Well, that will be really interesting if we actually have consequences, because one of the reasons why I think they come into San Francisco and break in, because they feel there are no consequences.
Now, the city of San Francisco needs workers to clean up used needles off the streets. Mayor Mark Farrell announced he's looking for 10 people whose sole job will be to pick up needles and syringes. KPIX 5's Phil Mateer sat down with Farrell to talk about his latest crackdown on homeless tents and how he plans to clean the city up.
And joining us this morning to talk more is San Francisco Mayor Mark Farrell. Good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
You recently, the topic of tents on San Francisco streets has become an issue. It's become a national issue as far as the image of the city goes. Right. Not necessarily homelessness, but the tents and the cityscape. You made an interesting statement. You had said that the city had gone from being compassionate to being an enabler. What do you mean?
Well, look, the tents on our streets right now, in my opinion, are simply unacceptable. And back in 2016, if you remember, I authored Proposition Q, which said we're going to force housing, not tents, on our sidewalks and in our streets, and saying we can remove these tent encampments if we offer people shelter or housing. Back then, at times, you felt like you were on a political island talking like that here in San Francisco. Because you know what, as a city, we have an ethos, as we should, about compassion first for these individuals that are sleeping on our streets. But with these tent encampments, you see the crime, the arson, the rape. This is unhealthy living conditions. And we've gotten to the point where if we continue to allow people to live in squalor like this, if we allow people to degrade on our streets, because nobody is getting better by sleeping in tents on our sidewalks at night, then we are now enabling street behavior. We're allowing this to proliferate and continue unless we actually take strong affirmative steps as a city to say, you know what, we're still going to offer you services, housing, shelter. But if you do not come indoors, at some point, the sidewalks of our city are for every single San Francisco resident, not just for those who want to live in tents in our sidewalks.
Okay, but years ago, this type of behavior, whether it was here or what they would call, Skid Row, it wasn't allowed. And if something like that was seen, the police would come in and have it removed. We moved that model to saying we don't want to criminalize the homeless. It became a healthcare issue and a social issue, saying it's to make help optional. But if they refuse the help, there's nothing done about it. And that's what we have now, is a situation where all of these people are basically looked at as patients in a health situation rather than blocking the sidewalk. And that's what's ruled the city for the last couple of years.
Look, the homeless on our street are not of one grouping. There are people with mental health issues, people with drug abuse, alcohol abuse issues, some that are economically just out of luck. So we have to treat people in very different ways. That being said, as you think about, as mayor of San Francisco, think about the tents on our sidewalks. To me, we are not getting people healthy. People are not getting better by sleeping in tents. And our sidewalks have to be for every single San Francisco resident.
You're not the first mayor to take the tents off. But taking the tents off the streets is not hard. Keeping them off is where it gets difficult.
That's right.
So who's going to do the follow-up enforcement? Because it keeps going back to the same model. It's not against the law. We're not going to criminalize. We're going to treat them. It's voluntary. Here come the tents again. Here they are. Neighbors are complaining. Here comes the sweep.
Right. So a program Mayor Lee piloted back in December before he passed away, and which I greenlit literally my first week in office, is a Healthy Streets Operations Center, where we finally have our police department, public health department, we have our homeless department, we have a number of departments and Department of Public Works working together to resolve these tent encampment areas. They're the ones that went in the other day to take down the tents. They're going to be ones tasked with making sure they don't come back. Because I completely agree with you. We can remove the tents, but the success over time is going to be measured by making sure these tents do not come back on our sidewalks. And then we move on to the next part of San Francisco.
Well, we're going to see how that goes, because that second step is the one where it's often stopped here in San Francisco. I want to thank you. Okay.